What if Yuta Okkotsu was in Shibuya during this Shibuya incident? This isn't just a he helps out a bit scenario. Yuta's presence would fundamentally change the arc completely. So let's go step by step. But before we get into it, please be sure to leave a like and why not subscribe if you haven't already. First, we need to establish where Yuta was power-wise at the time. By Shibuya, Yuta had already regained special grade status. He trained overseas and mastered reverse curse technique and regained full access to Rika. His cursed energy reserves are second only to Gojo. The Gojo. Yes, Gojo Satoru. Do you understand how crazy that statement is? My boy here is powerful as hell. So all of you people, God, I'm going off on a tangent. All you people calling my boy a fraud or a bum, leave that for Megami, okay? Okay? He can only copy curse techniques and he has insane durability and healing. And unlike Yuji at the time, Yuta fights with lethal intent when necessary. So walking into Shibuya, Yuta is immediately one of the strongest beings on the battlefield. But I guess we should address the biggest moment, right? Gojo's ceiling. Would Yuta have stopped it? Realistically, probably not. Gojo was sealed because of a very specific condition tied to the prison room. The moment Gojo saw Geto's body and processed that shock for 1 minute inside his mind, the seal activated. That wasn't absolute physical interference, it was psychological. Unless Yuta was physically right next to Gojo and somehow prevented the mental freeze, Gojo still gets sealed. However, if Yuta was inside the subway with him, the fight beforehand changes drastically. Jogo and Hinami likely die much faster. Yuta and Gojo together would overwhelm them quickly, and Kenjaku might have to reveal himself earlier or retreat. But once that 1 minute condition is fulfilled, it's instant, so Gojo likely still ends up sealed. Now here's where things start changing heavily. After Gojo is sealed, the chaos begins, and in the original timeline, that chaos spreads because there isn't a single overwhelming force stabilizing the battlefield. With Yuta there, that stabilizing force still exists. Because let's go back to what I said about him being on the same level of potential as Gojo. Insane statement. Let's quickly talk about Dagon. In canon, Dagon pushes Nanami, Maki, and Nabito to the brink inside his domain. They only survive because Toji intervenes, and if Yuta is present, that fight doesn't last as long. Yuta has a massive cursed energy output, and Rika, he can likely overpower Dagon's domain or kill him before things escalate that far, and that alone could save Nabito's life. Now for Jogo. Jogo is extremely strong. We've seen that when he fought Sukuna, but in saying that, he is still one of the strongest disaster curses. But Yuta scales above him. If Yuta engages Jogo seriously, Jogo probably dies before he ever gets the chance to feed Yuji the fingers. Because let's remember, Gojo was toying with Jogo. Look at this man. He is not on this planet right now. If Gojo wanted to, he could have ended Jogo's career way sooner. So I feel like Yuta would definitely have given him a beating. So if Yuta engages Jogo seriously, Jogo probably dies before he ever gets the chance to feed Yuji the fingers. And that is a massive turning point. Because Sukuna's rampage in Shibuya only happens because Jogo force feeds Yuji 10 fingers at once. But if Yuta kills Jogo early, Sukuna may never reach 15 fingers in that moment. But let's assume worst case scenario for this. Jogo still manages to feed Yuji. Sukuna at 15 fingers appears, but what if Yuta confronts 15 finger Sukuna? Well, the long and short of it is, well, Yuta loses. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But let's be clear about that. 15 finger Sukuna is operating at a completely different tier, but Yuta is durable, intelligent, and backed by Rika. He lasts significantly longer than Jogo did, and Sukuna would actually be entertained. God, I wish I could see that fight. Yuta might even force Sukuna to reveal more techniques earlier, but ultimately, Sukuna still walks away. But now we get to one of the most important characters in this entire discussion, Mahito. Mahito is the emotional core of Shibuya. He kills Nanami, he injures Nobara, and he psychologically breaks Yuji. And eventually, he evolves. If Yuta is active in Shibuya, Mahito's freedom disappears. Yuta is extremely dangerous for Mahito for a few reasons. First, Yuta has enormous cursed energy reinforcement, making it much harder for Mahito to land a clean idle transfiguration touch. Second, Yuta has reverse curse technique, meaning he can heal severe damage. And third, Rika gives him a second body in combat. Oh, and one more thing, Yuta does not hesitate when it comes to killing. If Yuta sees Mahito kill Nanami or hurt Nobara, that fight ends fast. Mahito does not get the drawn-out evolution he had against Yuji and Todo. There is a very real possibility that Mahito dies in Shibuya. And if Mahito dies, everything changes. Nanami likely survives, Nobara likely survives, and Todo probably keeps his hand. Yuji doesn't experience that same level of emotional destruction either, and that leads to one of the biggest domino effects. Kenjaku needed Mahito's idle transfiguration technique to activate the Culling Game by awakening dormant sorcerers. If Mahito dies before being absorbed, Kenjaku Kenjaku's entire timeline gets disrupted. The Culling game either gets delayed or requires a completely different setup. But speaking of Kenjaku, let's talk about him. Would Yuta kill him in Shibuya? Probably not. Kenjaku doesn't fight recklessly. If he sees Yuta as a major threat, he retreats. His goal was sealing Gojo, and once that's done, everything else is flexible really. He doesn't need to win fights, he just needs the plan to progress. So Kenjaku likely escapes, but he escapes into a very different world. A world where Mahito would be dead, the disaster curses are wiped out earlier, several grade 1 sorcerers are still alive, Yuji isn't emotionally shattered, and Yuta is now fully involved in the main conflict. Emotionally, that also shifts Yuji's development. Yuta is someone that understands carrying a curse inside you, and he relates to Yuji in a way that most characters can't. If Yuta is there guiding him through Shibuya, Yuji doesn't spiral the same way. Shibuya becomes less of a massacre and more of a high-level war. So in the end, Gojo still gets sealed, Sukuna might still rampage, but the casualties are drastically reduced. And the future of the series changes dramatically because removing Mahito from the equation early doesn't just save lives, it rewrites the entire structure of the next arc. So the real answer, if Yuta was in Shibuya, Gojo probably still gets sealed. But Mahito likely dies, Nanami and Nobara probably live, the Culling game changes, and the entire balance of power shifts way earlier than anyone expected. Shibuya would still be tragic, just not nearly as hopeless.